84, page 84. Or 83B actually, where it starts.
Did we get this paper before?
No, it's something else. Move this over there.
We have 4 students and 9.
You start taking this. No.
Izzy, Simcha, Esther. Okay.
Okay, I want to mention something about Mishnah. We're not learning the Mishnah, we're learning Gemara, but Mishnah. Can I have everyone's attention? Got the phone, I can't compete with phones.
No, just asking, someone asked me if she doesn't use phone.
Oh, I can compete, I can compete, that is fine.
I don't know, she did.
It's okay.
She did. He's there.
Well, the Mishnah, it was concluded, was put together, compiled. Let me go down, I'll see, yes, that's right, take one of these. I'll take.
No, but Izzy wants her to put in this.
By Rabbi Yehuda Anasi in the year 3950. Remember that 3950. That's when the Mishnah, not the Gemara. The Mishnah are the sages before the Gemara. They lived, the last generation was Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. Rabbi, he's called Rabbi, and he was the one who compiled the Mishnah and it was finished in the year 3950. Passed away right then and there, 3950. When was the conclusion of the compilation of the Talmud, the Gemara? Talmud and Gemara are synonymous. Talmud means teachings, Gemara. Gemara means also that which we derive from the Mishnah. So the Talmudic sages were 7 generations. And the last generation, Rav Ashi, Ravina, they compiled the Mishnah in the year 4260. So from the end of the Mishnah era to the end of the Talmud era, let's count, 3950 to 4260. How many years is that?
Like
310 years, to be exact. 3950, you have 50 more years to get to year 4000. Add 260 years with the 50, 260 plus 50 makes 310. So is it a difference of 310 years from the end of the Mishnah era to the end of the Talmud era? Again, don't mix Mishnah era. These are, I wish I could show it to you, but you don't see it on this page over here. But many of the Gemara page you'll see where it says Masni, which is that the Aramaic for Mishnah, Masnisin, means our teaching, our Mishnah. And just a few lines, and then you have after that Gemara. But this first page over here, you don't see that. You just see this is all Gemara. This is stories. But if I would have shown you a page, okay, I have the actual Gemara here. Let me show you what it looks like for a second, then we'll get into the actual story. Let me give you
punctuation.
what?
Gemara.
You
Oh wow.
have to no punctuation. That's what makes it hard. You get used to it. But once you get used to it, it's easy. Really not hard at all.
Yeah.
So here, for example. No, I mean, it really is. Here, for example, I found it very hard when I first started learning, but after years, you pick it up. And you probably can't see it here, but over here, you'll see it says Masni. From here to here, from here to here is a Mishnah. It's very short, just a few lines. And the Gemara will expand pages trying to figure out what the Mishnah was talking about. So the Mishnah sages are the Tanaim. These are the teachers. The Gemara sages are the Amoraim. The sayer, Amora, like Amar, the sayers. They interpret what the Mishnah might mean. Okay. I just want to interestingly show you that the word Mishnah has the same letters as Nishama, rearranged, Nishama. And obviously that's why we say Mishnayot. A lot of Mishnahs for people who passed away, for relatives who passed away. There's a lot of Mishnayos that are being said for them. Mishnah has a very powerful way of connecting the survivors, people that have survived, with the souls that have passed on. Through saying Mishnah, we connect. Why is that? Because the Mishnah has the ability to open up our own souls. What causes us to forget? Our animal soul. The Mishnah is geared towards our godly soul. When the godly soul is strengthened, we don't forget. You know what causes forgetfulness, especially in Torah learning? Our animal soul. The animal soul pulls us away from anything that's spiritual, and as time goes on, we forget. We forget a lot of other things too, not just Torah, but for sure it works on Torah even better. It really helps you forget Torah, the animal part of us. But the godly soul is inspired by the Mishnah teaching. It's also interesting that the word Mishnah has the same letters as Menashe. We're going to learn a few parshas from now, parshas Miketz. This is Vayetze, Vayishlav, in 3 weeks from now. Parshas Miketz, we're going to see that Yosef had 2 sons. The names, Ephraim and Menashe. Why was Menashe called Menashe? Yosef gave a reason. Menashe means to forget. God has made me forget all my troubles with his son. So Menashe has something to do with forgetfulness. Mishnah cures Menashe. Anytime we forget what we learn, you learn Mishnah, it will reverse the Menashe issue, the Menashe problem, the problem of forgetfulness. I want to just take a look at the first page before we get to the actual story here. Very interesting story, wild story. Oh, sounds like a story from left field. But here you have, on top of the page, this is Rashi. On the right side of the page is Rashi. Every page, I'm going to turn pages around. You're going to see on top, the first 4 lines are always wide. Okay? Just randomly. This is Rashi on the left side here. Rashi has always, Tosfos sometimes goes, but Rashi has always 4 wide lines. You go through the entire Talmud, with very few exceptions, you'll see 4 lines on top, wide. I once heard, I don't know if it's accurate or, authentic or not, but I once heard the reason why their first 4 lines of every page in Gemara, in the Rashi commentary of the Gemara, is always 4 wide lines, and then it goes narrow. Why are the first 4 lines, why do they stand out? Because when you learn Gemara, unlike Chumash, you're really delving deep into the understanding of Torah. And you could get, sometimes you can learn something and think it's just like secular studies. Hey, I got it. I grasped it. And you can forget that it's Hashem's Torah. You can forget the godliness of the Torah and think it's just like any other subject. So on top of the page, to remind you that it's divine, it's godly, it's not normal human logic, the first 4 lines correspond to Hashem's letters of his name. How many letters do you have in Hashem's main name? Yud Kei Vav Kei? 4. What does Yud Kei Vav Kei stand for? Hashem's essential name that's beyond understanding. All the other names have borrowed meanings, like Elokim could also mean a judge. Kale can mean strong. These are names, other names Hashem has. He has 7 names that are holy. But all those holy names can sometimes not be referring to God. Elokim could be referring to a judge. Kale can mean strong. Elokim, Tsevaos means an army. The only name of Hashem that only can refer to Hashem is the Yud Kei Vav Kei. So it has 4 letters. So the 4 wide lines on the top of the page, Rashi is indicating, the printer, indicating, don't forget that what you're learning now is not human logic, even though you understand it. It's really divine logic. But Hashem is kind enough to contract his divine logic so we can understand him. But really, it's divinity. Really, it's godly logic, not human logic. That's why the top lines stand out. They're very wide. You can't miss it. It stands out. Okay, let's see the story. So turn to take the first page, first English page. And first English page. You got it? Okay, first English page right over here. On the right side, which says the Gemara relates an incident which makes reference to the verse just expounded. Okay, so it's in the middle of the story here, but we can start from here also. Rabbi Lazar, you got it? Over here on the right side, first page. Yeah, on 83b1. You copy to 83b1. Here's the story. It's a wild one, and it's good to know the story. Rabbi Lazar bar Rav Shimon Ashkach lahu parhag gvana. Rabbi Lazar, the son of Rav Shimon ben Yochai. This is the son of Rav Shimon ben Yochai, the famous Rabbi, who lived right before, close to the time of Rabbi. So he came across a certain marshal. A marshal is someone who grabs, who arrests thieves. Because Tofis Ganovi. Now this was a Jewish guy. This guy who was assigned by the king, by the whatever, I guess the king, to investigate and arrest thieves was a Jewish man. And his job, he was commissioned by the king to investigate and arrest thieves. Our Malay, so Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, says, how do you know that you're really how do you know that you're really succeeding? Maybe you're catching innocent people. How do you manage to prevail over them? They're very hard to apprehend. They hide out. Thieves are very difficult to find. Lav kichavayasa misuli. Are they not likened to beasts? And animals hide out and lurk. As it is written, Bo sirmot kol chai sayar. It's a pasuk in Tehillim, chapter 104. In every forest, in every forest, beast stirs. They run around and you can't find them. They hide out. How do you succeed in finding the thieves? The Gemara records a variant traditions. Ika the Amri, some say that Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rav Shimon, expressed this point to him, not from this verse, but from a different verse, also in Tehillim, chapter 10. Yeroi ba'mistar ke'aryeh besukai. He, the thief, lurks in hiding like a lion ready in the lion's den. The lion is hiding and just about to spring forth. They're very difficult to find. They hide out very well. So how do you succeed in discovering all these thieves? That was the question. Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rav Shimon, continued. You know what? You might be taking innocent people. Dilma, shaklas, tzadiki, v'shafkas v'shii. Perhaps you are mistakenly apprehending the innocent and leaving the guilty behind. Marley, the marshal replied to him, I have no choice. Umay Evid, but what can I do? It's the king's order. Harmona de Malkahu. It is the king's order, therefore I have to arrest someone. If I don't arrest anyone, I'm going to be in trouble. My life is in danger, so I have to arrest. Yeah, you're right. I might have some innocent Jews that are caught. And you know what happens to these Jews? Yeah, they can be executed. But I have no choice. Otherwise, I'll be executed. If I don't do my job, I have to find some guilty people, or so-called guilty people. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, let me teach you how to find a guilty person. Let me give you a lesson. You should not have to cause an innocent person to suffer. Come, I will teach you how you should proceed in finding the right people who deserve to be punished. Ba'arba shoy is a strange one, very strange. Ba'arba shoy l'chanusa. In the 4th hour of the day, like around breakfast time, 10 o'clock in the morning, enter a diner, come into a restaurant, a diner. Ki chazis inish. Chamra. If you see a man who is drinking wine, it was customary those days to drink wine in the morning, good for the heart. And he holds his cup in his hand, and while he's holding the cup in his hand, he's dozing off. He's very tired. Now, early morning, why would you be tired 10 o'clock in the morning? You must have been up a whole night. Or got up very, very early. When do thieves work? At night. Uh-oh. So you see a guy who's holding his cup of wine, and wine is supposed to be something to, it's a very special drink. And as he's holding his cup of wine, he's half asleep. He's dozing off. To come a inquire about him. Sha'ol ilove. Take the guy and do some research. Inquire about him. If you find out that he's a Talmud Chacham, eat sorba merabananu. If he's a young rabbinical scholar, then you know what? Yeah, they learn the whole night, and they get up very early in the morning, and no wonder why he's tired. So he's drinking his wine and he's falling asleep because he's learned the whole night, or got up very early. Akadume kodim legirse. You can assume that he woke early before dawn on behalf of his studies. He's not a thief. Don't worry about that, and is thus innocent. Take to the next page. Where's the next page over here? Okay. Yeah. He's probably asleep now because he had a whole night of learning or an early morning wake up. But if he's not a Talmud Chacham, he's not a scholar, he's a worker, a day laborer, he works during the day. He probably did his work early. People get up very early to do work, so that could also be a reason why he's so tired. If he's a day worker. But if you find out his work is at night, if people say the guy must work at night, I never seen him, we only see him at night. Furthermore, even if they tell you he's a craftsman and his work is at night, and therefore he's tired, but you regard this as a suspicious because his house is silent at night. So let's see, people say that he works at night, but his house is quiet at night. So he doesn't work during the day. His house is quiet. Sounds a little suspicious, right? No, don't arrest him. Redudi radid. He may be lengthening metal wires, which is a quiet craft, whatever that is in those days. They would do things quietly and you can't hear it, and therefore it looks like it's quiet in the house, but really he's doing his work. So he's not a thief. The ilo. But if the person dozing off is not one of these, he's not a Talmud Chacham, he's not a day worker, supposedly works at night, and is quiet in his house, and he's not doing any, and his job is not a quiet craftsman job, Ganavahu. He can safely deduce, Ganvahu v'tafse, can safely deduce that he is a thief, and you should arrest him. So this is the Eitzah that Rabbi Shimon gave this marshal. Marshal heard and passed over this teachings, Rabbi Eliezer's advice how to catch thieves to the king. King said, well, that's the case. He must be an expert. Call him. So now Rabbi Eliezer ben Shimon is now forced by the king to do the job of the marshal and to try to catch thieves, since he's a big expert, as he just mentioned. So now we have a problem here. The matter of Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Shimon's advice, was heard in the palace. Omru, they declared, since you're the guy who gave such good advice, how about we be the one to deliver? You're the reader of the letter. Deliver it. That's the famous saying. The reader of the letter should be its deliverer. You know where this is said by Pinchas, story with Pinchas and Zimri in Chumash, with a plague. 24,000 people lost their lives, and Pinchas stopped the plague by killing Zimri. But before he did that, he asked Moshe, I heard that there's a rule, if someone is in the middle of the act of fooling around with a non-Jewish person, woman, that you can kill him on the spot for doing so in the middle of the act. If he's finished the act, then you can't. But in the middle of it, so Moshe says, well, if that's the case, since you're the one who brought up this information, you do it. Likewise over here, since you're the one, the king says to Rabbi Eliezer, you're the one who gave this advice, this letter, you read the letter of how to catch thieves. It's your job. You have a job right now. You have a paid job of delivering thieves. Let Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Shimon, be the one to put his own advice into practice. Practice what you preach. As you all, Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon. So they brought Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Shimon, and authorized him. And he set about arresting thieves. Now, is that the right thing to do? Because you might take even if the guy's a thief, a Jewish thief, are you allowed to hand over a Jewish thief to the non-Jewish government and have them executed? Of course not. So that's a problem. But he was doing that. Shalach le Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, Rabbi Yeshua the son of Karcha, sends a message to him. How dare you? Your father was a holy tzaddik. You're like wine that became vinegar. Chometz ben Yayin, he referred to him in a very disrespectful way. He called vinegar the son of wine. His father was Rav Shimon ben Yochai. You know that is the Rabbi. And he is the son. You're like wine becoming spoiled. How dare you do a thing like this? Ad mosai ata moser amol tolelekenu lahariga. How long will you hand over the people of our God to their execution? Even if they are truly thieves, but they're not liable to execution. Shalach le, Rabbi Eliezer the son of Shimon sent back to him, I am ridding the vineyard of its thorns, is what he said here. Now that's a problem. What do you mean I'm ridding? Okay, thieves are thorns, but you don't have a right to execute them. So what did he mean by that? So you're looking to the footnote 15. There's a long story over here by one of the Rishonim. You'll take a look at I am ridding the Jewish people of its evildoers. The metaphor of a vineyard is based on a verse in Isaiah. Okay, but the vineyard of Hashem is the house of Yisrael. We are Hashem's vineyard. And then you have thorns in the vineyard. The Jewish people at large are considered Hashem's vineyard, a kerem, but the Jewish people also have thorns amongst them. The question presents itself, why was Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rav Shimon, permitted to hand fellow Jews over to their execution? There is no penalty of death for stealing. Furthermore, he did so without any witness testimony, without even finding him guilty in a Jewish court of law. Rashba and Rivash, these are two Rishonim. If I don't mention to you last week or 2 weeks ago, who are the Rishonim? Rashi and the Rambam and company. This is way after the Gemara. So this is about 100 years after the Rambam. He had someone by the name of Rashba, the abbreviation of his name, Rabbi Shimon ben Aderes, and he and Rivash both state in their responses that Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Shimon's actions were an example of an extraordinary powers of leading rabbi that may exercise under extraordinary circumstances. Here's the rule. If crime is so rampant that it threatens to cause a breakdown in society, and also a terrible chilul Hashem that Jews are involved in thievery, the leading rabbis and courts are empowered to use all means necessary to repair the breach. This is true all the more so when they are authorized to take such measures by the secular government. Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Shimon, held that thievery of his generation was in such a category, and he thus was permitted or even obliged to turn over these Jewish thieves to their deaths at the hand of the government. So when things are getting out of hand and thievery becoming like it's spreading like wildfire, there is a rule that the rabbis can implement even a death penalty for a thief. And that's what Rabbi Elazar was doing. But Rabbi Yeshua did not agree with him. He said, let God remove the thorns. Who are you to decide to remove the thorns? It's God's vineyard. Let him take care of the thorns in his vineyard. Shalach le, Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha sent back to him a letter. Let the master of the vineyard come and get rid of his thorns. Why are you mixing into his business? God created the vineyard, the Jewish people. Let him take care of those that are considered like thorns. None of your business. One day, Yom Echad, a certain laundryman encountered Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, and he heard how Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha called Rabbi Elazar a name. He called him and disparaged his name. He called him a vinegar coming from wine, meaning that your father was wine and you're like vinegar. And this lowlife, this guy who was just a plain person, had the chutzpah to refer to Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon the same way the other rabbi did. And he called him, hey, Rabbi, I heard your name is Vinegar, the son of wine. So when Rabbi Elazar sees that, he says, this guy is probably a real big rasha to have such chutzpah. Chutzpah, like chutzpah. Since this laundryman is singularly contemptuous, has the chutzpah of that degree, Shema mina rishiahu. He must be a wicked person. Armalu Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, tafsiru, arrest him. They arrested him, and Levasa denach date, after his mind was once again at ease for having his person arrested, also basvei lefaruke. He went after the laundryman to redeem him from his impending execution. He found out they're about to execute him, and he tried very hard to free him. He didn't want to kill him. But Lomotzi, he was unable to do so. Kari alei, Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, pronounced this verse on the laundryman. Shomer pivu l'shono shomer mitzaras nafsho. He who guards his mouth and tongue guards his soul. Sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut. The kfu, they hung the laundryman. They killed him, and he didn't succeed in trying to redeem him, and he was devastated. Rabbi Elazar was devastated that he actually caused a Jew, even though he did this in the past, but this is a Jew that didn't do anything, didn't just act in chutzpah, and he felt that that's not a reason to take care of his own honor and have this person executed. So he stood under the gallows and cried. They said to him, while he was crying, the guy was executed, and he's standing under the gallows and he's crying. They told, don't worry, you didn't get a good guy. You know what this guy did in the past? We have some information. Look what he did. He deserves to die. He's not just a chutzpah. He's much more than that. Don't be troubled, for he and his son together, imagine father and son together, cohabited with a betrothed Nara, a woman, a girl of age of 12 years old. They raped a girl of the age of 12, then two of them together. When? And this girl was not only a 12-year-old girl, she was also betrothed. She was already married. A 12-year-old girl that was married. And on Yom Kippur, they raped her, father and son together. You can imagine what kind of person this is. Not only is he doing it himself, he has his child, his son doing it, meaning that's how he's mechanech his children. So this guy is a real lowlife. You should feel okay. So Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, rested his hand on his stomach, meaning towards his heart. And he says, oh, if that's the case, let my insides rejoice. If I didn't even know what I was doing, I wasn't even sure, and yet I succeeded in targeting the truth. If you're certain, he's telling his heart, pointing to his kidneys. The kidneys are called kidneys of advice. Somehow kidneys have a lot of functions besides the filtering, and getting rid of the waste. They also have the ability to give a person a certain way of deciphering right from wrong. It's a premonition. It's not so simple. And he felt, wow, looks like my insides have really helped me judge right, even when I wasn't sure myself. If you're uncertain judgments, I didn't have any proof this guy was a bad person. And I guess I targeted the right guy, had him executed. Well, if that's the case, then your certain judgments, all the more so. Then things that you know for sure, you can be 100% sure that they are just. You don't make mistakes And the Gemara continues, next page. Look at the next page. He's talking to his intestines, to his insides. I am therefore confident in you, my insides, that no maggot or worm will ever prevail over you. When I pass away, I'm not going to decompose like most people do. But despite this, Rabbi Elazar's son, Rav Shimon's conscience was not put to rest. Yes, he said, wow, I guess, but I don't know. I don't feel comfortable, but every person that I deal with is really deserving of death. So he wasn't comfortable even after this. Even after praising his insides and all that, his conscience still bothered him. And he continues on. You think this is strange? We'll go over. Rabbi Elazar's son, Rav Shimon, tries to determine if he acted wrongly. They had him drink an anesthetic. He wanted to see another test to see if really he was, maybe I should skip this piece. It's really going to.
We're gonna read it anyway.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had, okay, yeah. I knew it's going to happen. They had him drink an anesthetic tonic. The Ailuhu lebesa de shisha, and brought him into a marble room where there's no air, does not escape a marble room. Marble is very insulated. Marble is very good. If you want insulation, have a marble wall house, and you'll know that none of the coal will come in. The karu lekrese, and surgically inside the skin of his abdomen, havomafkibine, they removed from him during this operation. He was under surgery. Dikule tarba, baskets and baskets of fat. And they placed these fats in the sun in the hot summer months of Tammuz and Av to see if they would become wormy. And yet they did not rot, which is a sign that his body is immune to rotting. So the Gemara asks, what does it prove? No fat rots. What does this prove? All fats do not rot. And the Gemara answers, it's true that all fats do not rot, but shuraiki sumki masriach. Sensuousness, membranes do rot. Afagav the Isa Shraki. Sumki here in the case, even though there were some membranes that were present in the fat, and they still didn't rot, that was a sign that his body will not decompose after his death. Kari Hanafshi, Elazar, the son of Rav Shimon, quoted this about himself, Af Besari Yishkon Levetach, even my flesh will rest securely. Okay, now let's go to the next page. The next line is, I'm skipping 2 pages because the Gemara we learned 2 weeks ago is actually the story with Rabbi Yochanan Mishlokish, which is after this story here, and now we're going to continue on the page. Page is this? 84. I think it's 84:1. Hold on a second. No, 80. 84. That's fine. 83b3. Yeah, 84:1. Yeah, where it's stapled on top. The Gemara now returns to the narrative of Rabbi Elazar, son of Shimon. I skipped 2 pages where the Gemara goes on to a different subject and comes back to the story. So I skipped the other 2 pages. Now the Gemara says, let's go back to the story with Rabbi Elazar. Leisamach Rabbi Elazar ben Rav Shimon adaita. Rabbi Elazar ben Rav Shimon did not wish to rely upon his own reasoning to absolve himself from any guilt, and he accepted physical suffering upon himself. He wanted to suffer to atone for his sins. Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rav Shimon, was stricken severely. The Gemara details the effects of his illness and his treatment. Be'urta, have a maichile, at night they would fold beneath him shitin namti, 60 layers of felt, because of all the blood and pus that came out of his body. With safra, in the morning they would draw him from under him shiti mishilchi dama, 60 basins full of blood and pus. Now when it says 60, it doesn't mean 60. 60 is an exaggerated number. The Gemara always uses 60 when it wants to say a lot. Anyone know what's special about 60? The Gemara always uses hyperbole, a lot, but it says 60, 60 this, 60 that. 60 is you want to have something that's treif, become kosher? 160. Batul b'shishim. Right. So 60 shows, wow, it's so much it can even nullify something that's not kosher. So the Gemara is using hyperbole over here. It doesn't mean 60, exactly 60, because everything's 60. You just don't see the whole page, 60, 60, 60. His wife prepared for him 60 kinds of lifta. What's lifta? Look on the bottom of footnote 3. Footnote 3, foods made from dates. So she gave us, his wife prepared some kind of refuah. Guess that kind of date mixture was supposed to be good for his problems for his night problems. And he ate them and recovered. His wife would not permit him to leave the home and go to the Beis HaMedrash. We'll soon see why. To go out the house of study. She did not. He was forced to be home, not because of his health, but rather because of something else. Why did his wife say you cannot leave? You have to stay home. So that the rabbis would not press him. He had caused many thieves, who were Jewish thieves, to lose their life. And the family members of those thieves were angry at him. And he was afraid, the wife was afraid if he leaves his home, there were many rabbis who also did disagree with him. The wife was afraid that they'll trample him, they'll harass him for sure. So she kept him at home. So that the rabbis would not press him. But at night, he would say, please, before you go to sleep, when he's already about to sleep anyways, and he was not going to learn, he told his afflictions, please, my afflictions, come to me. I want to suffer so I can be atoned for my sins. He would address his aches and pains, and he would say to his aches and pains, you're welcome to come back. My brothers and friends, he called his aches and pains, afflict me. But Safra, in the morning when you have to learn and daven, he told his afflictions, now it's time to leave. I don't want to cause my pains to stop me from learning. Zilu mipnei bittul Torah, go because of the disruption of Torah study, they would cause him. So therefore, he said at night, come on, afflict me. During the morning, when he would have to learn, he said, leave. Yom Achad, Shama Devisu. One day his wife heard him invite his afflictions. This he didn't like. I gave you so many things to cure yourself, and you're bringing on, you're making yourself sick. I'm working for nothing. You're making yourself sick after I've cured you. What are you doing? She never knew about it. She didn't realize that he was continuously bringing on his pains and suffering at night. And it costs money, don't forget. You are bringing them upon yourself? You have squandered the money of my father's house. We were rich once upon a time, but we're spending a fortune on your recovery. Imruda, she rebelled against him, leaving the home. She went back to her father's house and separated from him. Afterwards, a certain group of 60 sailors, again, 60 sailors came up from the sea and came to Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon's home. What happened? Take a look at footnote 7. They had encountered a life-threatening storm while at sea and prayed to God to save them in the merit of Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon. When they reached land safely, they sent a gift to him, knowing that in his chus their lives were saved. They came to his house to bring him a present. They brought him 60 slaves. Kinakita, each one of the 60 were holding 60 money bags of gold and silver and who knows what else. And they prepared for him 60 lifto. Again, this is the cure. He ate them, and his health returned. He also became rich. Yom Achad, I guess his wife must have heard something, rumors about what's going on with his husband. And one day his wife said to her daughter, Zil Baki Ba'avuch, go find out about your father. What's going on with him? What's he doing today? Asya, she came to her father. Armalo, he said to her, go tell your mother that what we have now is greater than your mother's family, than your mother's rich family. Now we are richer than they are. Karya Nafshe, Rabbi Elazar, son of Rabbi Shimon, quoted the following verse about himself. It's a pasuk that we say in the before Kiddush, in the Eitzes Chayil. What do we say in the Eitzes Chayil? These are verses in Mishlei. The Torah is like a merchant ship. From afar, she brings her sustenance. My Torah gave me the great sustenance from all these people riding a ship. From all these merchants, I have become rich. So it's all the source of the Torah learning. So therefore, he referred to the Torah as the merchant ships from afar. He ate, drank, and gained back his strength. He went out that day to a house of study, since his wife was not there to restrain him. They brought before him 60 samples of blood. Now this is okay. Footnote 10. What samples of blood are we talking about? Women brought samples of their own blood on clothes to show him whether it's a needle blood or not. Okay, I'm not going to go into the details here, but you read the next part. He would determine for each sample if it was tamei and the woman was a nida, or if it was tahar and the woman was permitted to her husband. There are only 5 shades of blood which are deemed tamei. All the rest are tahar. Today we don't know the difference, so we call any kind of blood is considered a problem. Thus, an expert can make a determination by inspecting a blood sample. He was an expert. He had very good eyesight. Not all rabbis today. I'm just letting you know that usually the husband is the one who does it. The woman, if she has a question on the color, let's say a cloth that she checks herself with, and if something comes out that looks like blood but it's not clear. So usually it's the husband that brings it, puts it in an envelope and brings it to the rabbi, and he doesn't know, rabbi does not know who you are, because it's put in the mailbox, and the rabbi has no idea who you are, just knows your number, and calls you and says, well, I looked at it at night, or during next morning rather. It has to be done in the morning. The rabbi can only look at it during the morning, and he says, it's good, no problem. It's not what you think it is. Fine. Now in those days, but if it's red, forget about it. If it's brown, if it's red, a problem. I hope not. I'm not saying things I shouldn't be saying. It's more uncomfortable. But in those days, the rabbis had special eyesight that we don't have today. Keen eyesight. They were able to detect this. Even red is also sometimes no problem. Only 5 shades of red out of about 30 or 40 shades of red are a problem. Now they're so close, they look so almost exactly alike that it's very difficult to detect one from the other. But these rabbis, very few, even those days, had a special keen eyesight to detect the slightest difference between one shade of red and another shade of red. So Rabbi Loz was one of those experts, like the opposite of being colorblind. Not only are they not colorblind, they can detect the slightest shade of one color from another color. And he says like this. So a lot of women brought him because he was a big expert in this field. No one else had the expertise that he had. And they all brought their shilas to him. And he said, all of them, you're okay. None of them are problematic. They're all okay. 60 samples, well, not 60, but a lot of samples, and they're all okay. There's not even one doubtful case. The rabbi said, he declared all of them tahor, that all these blood, something's wrong. Come on, you can't have it. Doesn't make any sense. Some of them should not be. The rabbis murmured against him and said, you really think, Salka died, you really think that he knows what he's talking about? That there's not even one doubt, lesbo topic, among these 60 samples of different women, there's not even one doubtful case. It's very highly unusual. Rabbi Loza says, you don't believe me, that I'm right? If the situation is as I say, let all these women give birth to male children. Let all the women conceive tonight, and let their babies, let them all conceive tonight. And let their babies all be boys. The imlab, and if they don't conceive tonight, and their babies, and there's one girl born, let there be one girl amongst them, if I made a mistake. And what happened was, all of them conceived that night, and all these women that showed their clothing, whatever it was, they all conceived, the babies were all boys, and they named their baby Rabbi Loza after him. Sorry, crazy story. A lot of Rabbi Loza, you have a lot of Chayabushkas and a lot of Nachamendel, they had a lot of Rabbi Lozers. We don't know if they're 60, but there were a lot. So he said, let them all. Why is it boys versus girls? Because boys don't have menstrual cycles. So if I was right in saying it's not a menstrual cycle, they're okay. Then let them all be boys who don't go through this. Boys have other problems, other issues, but they don't have menstrual cycles like women do. Okay. Tanya, it's been taught. I can get in trouble for this. That's been taught in the Brisa. Rebbe said, "Kama Purya." Now, when Rabbi Elazar of Shimon was involved with catching thieves, he had no time to rule. So the women didn't really trust anyone else. They didn't want to go to any other rabbi. He was the only rabbi they really trusted. They had to consider themselves as perhaps maybe they're in their menstrual cycle. They don't know. Unless he permits them, they have to always worry. Maybe we're still in our cycle, and therefore they did not cohabit with their husbands. And so much weight, and it's a terrible thing to cause women to have their time with their husbands delayed is a very terrible sin. So here, who's the cause for that? The government forced Rabbi Elazar not to be able to rule because he was involved with catching thieves, and he had no time. Tanya, Amar Rebbe. Rebbe once said, "Kama pirya v'rivya." How much procreation, bitla resha zum Yisrael, was eliminated by this evil regime from the Jewish people when they appointed Rabbi Elazar, son of Rav Shimon, as a marshal. He had no time to rule as a rabbi and the women refrained from being with their husbands because they didn't know if they're allowed to be. And as a result, many children weren't born. So this evil government should suffer a lot. Story goes on, Rabbi, you'll soon see what happens in the next piece here. It is wild. Where Rabbi Reb Shimon, after he passes away, is not buried. He's in the house. He's in for 18 years. And his body did not decompose one bit. The whole story coming up later, but we don't have time for the rest of the story. And then I want to get back to this maybe, but there's more of it, one more page, 2 more pages actually. But next week is already we'll learn a Hanukkah Gemara about Hanukkah because again close to Hanukkah. So next week and the week after probably I'm not sure what the Seder is on Hanukkah here, but next week is before Hanukkah still. So next week we'll learn a Gemara about Hanukkah. After Hanukkah, I want to get back to this Gemara again. I know you're probably thinking, what do we learn from this Gemara here? But we learn there's certain halachah you learn from here about how you're allowed to cause a thief to be executed at certain times. When thievery is rampant, you're allowed to issue a law that's really strange of even having a thief executed if it's getting out of hand. That's derived from this Gemara over here. Okay, so we'll leave it for weeks. And then I want to go through a whole other type of learning. After Hanukkah is over, we're going to get back to a different, not stories, different type of Gemara learning related to interesting questions in halacha, but it's not difficult. So I'm not sure which Gemara yet. I have to choose a few Gemaras, and we'll see later on which one I'm going to choose. I'll find out later myself which one I want to choose. We have an actual Mishnah and a Gemara, and the real. This is just stories over here, and it's these Gemaras that are really, you see, there must be something deeper, because when you have a Gemara like this, it must be hinting something much deeper. When you have a Gemara that, is straight halacha, I don't see any secrets. It's very clear. When you see strange stories and there are a lot of stranger stories of this. If you look at Gemara, you have a really, you see right away there's something deeper. There's something behind all this. So this is called Agadata. Agadata are stories in Gemara. Agadata. There's halacha and there's Agadata. These are the story part. This whole chapter is full of stories. Chapter 7. In chapter 8, rather, chapter 7 in Bava Metzia. Chapter 7. It's a well-known chapter to have a lot of stories. And we're in the middle of some of the stories. Okay. Forgive me for the miscomfort.
No, it's Torah.
Okay, glad you said that. Good Shabbos.
Good Sabbath. Thank you. Oh, Rabbi Greenberg.
Yeah.
What is the Baraisa?
Equivalent to Mishnah. Same pages. But Mishnah was